help if I unmute myself there. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome now to Weather Now, Kentucky, as George joins us to give us information on a potential severe weather this afternoon for South Central Kentucky and Eastern Kentucky. That's what we're focused on today, George.
That's correct. So we have a new line of storms being developed here. So South Central and Eastern Kentucky is definitely in that zone. If you're far out in Western Kentucky, you should be fine for today. But I guess we go ahead and get rolling through all the details real quick, just to kind of quickly roll through this video for you, because these storms are actually starting right now. So we want to make sure that this goes pretty fast here. So what we have here is a quasi-linear convective system today. Fancy word for a line of storms that should begin to bow out and create supercells. And so that's what we have that a concern for there. So this line of storms will move southeast. My little fancy arrow there that got completely butchered because my DPI on my mouse is way too high. But this will continue to move southeast. So what we have here is our risk map. Sorry, allergies are absolutely getting to me today. 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. is the main time frame. As we can see here at 12 p.m., right on the dot, it's getting started.
Well, I think we're not getting any movement again in the.
Are you kidding me?
In the graphic.
This one shouldn't move. This should just be a still graphic.
Well, we're just getting the composite reflectivity is what we're getting.
I've got to fix this. So we're going to go to window. Yes, I'm showing up. Oh, wait. I know what I did wrong. That was on me. That wasn't on the technology or internet today. It was on me. I hit the wrong button there.
There you go.
But what we're doing now, it should be a risk map up on your screens.
Yep.
Awesome. You can't go without a mistake. It's classic George. It's classic George. 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. our main time frame here today, mainly for southeastern Kentucky. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. It's going to get a little bit grainy here, but I'm going to zoom in to show you that the zones are from Somerset to Elizabethtown, just south of Lexington, and back out toward Pikeville. You could argue that I could have moved this purple 4 out of 5 risk down just a little bit more south towards Somerset. Either way, if you find yourself in a 3 out of 5 or higher, typically not any good company to be in. Now, I will say that this line is getting started a little bit earlier, so I think that we can move this red zone a little bit out of Hardin County and just include Hardin County in the lower risk. But, I mean, again, numbers are numbers here. The overall theme today is the wind threat is number 1. 3 out of 5 risk, as you can see here from our green bar. A 2 out of 5 risk for the hail being large, at least quarter size or larger. And the tornado risk has been bumped up 1 slot to a 2 out of 5. But if you are in that purple zone, I would probably assume it's a 3 out of 5. Again, once these storms get going, we expect them to kind of bow out, and that'll create a quasi-linear type of system, and that will allow for some bowing segments to allow some rotation to continue and produce supercells. So moving on over here to our future radar here for the HRRR model, great model here. Kind of like your 4K TV. It shows everything in high resolution. It's fantastic. So we're going to put a lot of faith into this. This has us going here at 12 p.m. Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You can see the little difference already, though. So what we saw on our radar, if you remember back just about 60 seconds ago, was a line of storms that stretched from southern Indiana through Owensboro and then back down to the east. As you can see, this model doesn't really pick up on that. It's kind of showing a cell here, a cell here, a cell here. So we can already tell there's a bit of a difference. So we'll adjust our forecast as we go. But granted, still, we're going to kind of move on through here. Now, this model does show it kind of skipping over Central Kentucky. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back to an older run that showed this more accurately because I feel like that run may be bad. So we're going to back this on up here to the 12Z. And this actually shows it more accurately. A line of storms pushing through Central Kentucky around 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. We can kind of see that. Let's go ahead and verifying. And then it kind of matures. You're going to start seeing more purple dots. You're going to start seeing more rotation signatures. You're also going to start seeing some more compaction in that line as it moves down to the southeast, just to the south of Lexington towards Somerset, going back out toward Campbellsville and Bowling Green. This is actually valid for 3 p.m. Eastern Time. As this marches on down to the southeast here, you can go ahead and still see that maturing of the line, which is, again, why we have that purple zone and that red zone kind of expanding as it heads toward the southeast here. So Somerset and Pikeville, get ready for about 4 to 6 p.m. Those storms will be in your area. And when they do get to your area, I do expect them to be rotating a little bit more. We can go ahead and actually see the rotation signatures that are from this model as I push this map on through. This is technically called the updraft helicity, fancy word for rotation. As I push this on through to kind of mature this line here, you can go ahead and see there are some rotation signatures in northern Hardin County, out toward Bardstown. Now, again, these are waffle back and forth. These aren't exact spots of where these line up. These radars and models are awesome, but they don't pinpoint exact areas. They just kind of give you a general theme here. But you can kind of get the overall theme. Rotating storms as these move more southeast, they'll go ahead and continue to get stronger. I want to pull up this radar one more time here. If I can get out a full screen, that would be great. Pull this radar one more time just to show you again, so we can kind of go ahead and already see the difference. This is already kind of maturing into a strong line of storms. I'm not seeing any hail signatures yet. I want to go ahead and pull this up with Greg while we're on here and just check our rotations. I'm not really seeing, there is a small pocket of rotation near Irvington. This looks to be very broad though. So we'll see if we already have our first supercell beginning to birth. I think this would be the first one we've done with Greg with a supercell was to pop up. But you can go ahead and see this line's already beginning to mature. The reason we left northeastern Kentucky, a lot of people asked, right, why we left northeastern Kentucky out of pretty much any risk map that we've made. And I want to show you, you can kind of see up here, they had to deal with these showers earlier on today. That limits your sunshine, so it limits your energy. And also on the northern edge of this line, back out toward Louisville, Cynthiana, Georgetown, and whatnot, it's much more of a wide line of rain showers as opposed to down here on the southern flank of it, where it's more of a thin line. And when that happens, all this energy that's in our atmosphere has to be spread. If I can get my marker to come up, that'd be great. If all this energy that's in our atmosphere has to be spread throughout this entire line, right? So there's less concentration. Whereas down here, all this energy only has to be spread to here, to here, to here, to here. So you kind of get the difference there. There's more fuel to be spread to a thinner line of storms versus a wider line of storms. So that's kind of why we left northern half of Kentucky out of it. This is mainly just the south central and southeastern portion, kind of event today. And then, of course, for western Kentucky, you got left out of it because storms didn't even form until they were past you. So that's where we're at with things. This line right here will continue to move southeast as it marches. It should continue to mature. We should see a few supercells as well. There's plenty of energy down here. The one thing I didn't show you before I give this back to Greg is our energy map here. This is going to show us, and I know it's kind of hard to read. I'll explain it real quick. There's no lines on here. So for just context, Elizabethtown is right here where this blue kind of meets this red. Louisville is up here. Bowling Green's down here. Pikeville, Somerset, Lexington. So you got to got your points there. Fill in your context as you may be. But this map technically shows CAPE or storm fuel. You can see there's plenty of storm fuel available. Basically, we would need about 500 or more. You could see 2,500, 2,000, 1,500, 1,500. There's plenty of storm fuel for the bottom half of Kentucky, central and eastern. Again, why we left northern Kentucky out of it. But Greg, that's the update I have for everyone. This line will continue to push southeast. Approaching the more mature line of storms will be in Pikeville, Somerset areas, down toward Campbellsville as well, between that 4 to 6 p.m. time frame. That's where we're really, really, really concerned for the tornado potential.
Okay. Well, definitely we're going to be here and making sure we've got people covered. We'll get to questions here in just a couple of seconds. There are just a few, but before we do that, let's get into how George pays the bills around here. Brought to you by your friends at the Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame and Museum in Owensboro. Offer something for every bluegrass fan. They offer field trips, music lessons, group tours, live music and concerts, audio guides, the pick and parlor, venue rentals, event space, and much, much more. I don't know how much more you can add than that, but okay. Learn more at bluegrasshall.org. Another sponsor is the Stephen Foster Story at my old Kentucky home in Bardstown. You can visit stephenfoster.com for dates and show times, or you can call them at 502-248-5971. Also showing this summer, live music concerts and the Broadway musical Cinderella at the Stephen Foster Story. All right, George, we've got a few comments on here. Kayla Nichols mentions that it is starting to thunder in Brandenburg, not raining or anything, though. So there's a little bit of a weather eye for you.
Well, I appreciate that.
And then also looking on down here, and Amanda wants to know South Central, what time are we looking at?
South Central, what time? I'm guessing you're probably somewhere toward the Bowling Green, Hart County area. If I had to guess, you're talking about South Central there, maybe in Campbellsville, Columbia. I would probably expect it between 2 to 4 p.m. That's a pretty good general time frame for South Central. Now, if you're more towards Somerset or Hazard or London, Kentucky, you're looking more at 3 to 5 p.m. So hopefully one of those areas kind of answers your question there, Amanda. Thank you for asking, of course.
All right, Austin is asking about Whitley County. What is it looking like in eastern Kentucky?
So Whitley County, definitely for Eastern Kentucky, one of our more areas that are more vulnerable this afternoon between 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern time out there. All modes of severe weather are on the table for that area. Definitely want to pay attention to the page or wherever you get your weather information from to make sure that you're up to date and getting those alerts and being safe out there.
A couple and an update too for people that usually watch this on Facebook. If you also want to watch it on YouTube, it is now available on YouTube, and it's going to be multi-stream. So Facebook and YouTube is getting the same feed. The comments that you have that you do, or have been doing on Facebook, you'll also be able to do on YouTube, and we'll be able to see those and report back. You know, it's sometimes a little difficult to get to them all because they do come in pretty hot and heavy and just kind of moving around. But Shannon just joined and want to know about the Hodgenville, Sonora area.
Hodgenville, Sonora area, definitely one of those places we're also watching for those supercells to begin maturing. I definitely think it might happen past you, but want to keep an eye on the weather between, obviously, I think 12:45 to 1:30 p.m. is a more narrow time frame for that area. Again, got to watch and see how this line matures. We're watching it right now, literally while I'm talking with you guys and Greg. I'm literally watching it on the radar as we speak, and just continuing to watch how it matures. It depends on how fast it matures on your severe level threat. I would just say keep an eye on the page through about 1:30 to 2 p.m. For updates out there.
All right, just a couple of comments here. Rain in E-Town, Sierra says, and also Sage Smith mentioning lots of rain in Crestwood, Kentucky. And Shelly and Bud Lyons, they want to know, is it going to be in Lawrence County? They're in a mobile home, so they want to kind of get an update for them to be able to.
I definitely think Lawrence County, Greg. Yeah, great question. I definitely think Lawrence County is, again, one of those spots where we could see all modes of severe weather later on this afternoon. If you're in a trailer, I would try, depends on how the trailer was built. Obviously, you have to make this decision on your own, but try to find some shelter that's a little bit more sturdy. Again, even if we don't see tornadic activity today, the wind gusts, especially for Eastern Kentucky, are looking up to about 60 to 70 mile per hour. And that could cause a lot of damages to trailer parks and mobile homes as well. So definitely one of those places between about 3 to 6 p.m., probably closer to that 6 p.m. time frame. Definitely making sure that you're in a safe spot and having different ways to get alerts, especially for Lawrence County, Whitley County, again, out there toward the eastern portion of the Kentucky. Making sure you have alerts today is pretty key. I know this is probably the first time, I think, all year, Greg, that Eastern Kentucky has been really in a threat. So I know this is probably new to a lot of folks out there, a little fresh for a lot of folks out there, but making sure that you have your alerts turned on, sounds turned up, phones charged. Don't depend on tornado sirens outside. Different ways to get alerts is key in situations like this because sometimes they fail, right? So making sure you have multiple ways to get alerts is the most important thing that you can do today, especially for our friends out in Eastern Kentucky.
Okay, getting a lot of questions about different cities and things, and I mean there are a bunch of them there. George, do you think you can go back through real quick and kind of give the timeline of how these storms are going to go, so everybody that's asking for the different cities can get an update and know exactly, actually a window of time that it is going to be coming toward them?
Absolutely. I can run back through here again if the allergies want to let me anyway. So this is our general risk map here. It should be up on your screen for tonight going from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. We can kind of go ahead and already see that this line is already beginning. We're getting, numbers of reports from thunderstorms to rain to wind that Greg has already pulled up on the screen for us out there toward that Brandenburg area and then back out toward Crestwood as well. This line will continue to move southeast here, impacting areas throughout the afternoon. A level 4 out of 5 risk or a purple risk out toward the Pikeville area. You could argue that I could have pulled this a little bit more south here toward the Somerset area. But generally, overall, just if you find yourself in any of these red or purple zones, making sure that you're on high regards this evening and this afternoon is of maximum priority. This yellow zone is basically because we don't really know how that line is going to mature as it moves. I don't expect it to mature in time to really impact this area, but we had to put a risk out just in case it does. So we're kind of just seeing how this line maneuvers its way through central Kentucky at this time. I can actually go ahead and pull up the radar for you real quick and show you that this line is already a bit more mature than what the model data was showing us. Now, I don't really have any idea how that plays into it right now. Obviously, I have to dive into more information off the stream, so we'll have updates on the page as we go forward. But we can already see that this line is a bit more mature than what I showed you on the model data about 5 minutes ago. So we're going to continue to trend and see how that impacts the area. But this line right here, again, will continue to move southeast. And as it passes through, I believe, the I-65 corridor, and obviously the parkways as well. I think that's when it really begins to start popping off this with the supercells and start to pop off with some more rotating storms. And again, not all rotating storms produce tornadic activity. Rotating storms can produce large hail, damaging wind gusts, as well as tornadic activity. So not all rotating storms produce that. We'll go ahead and note here that we are starting to see several lightning strikes. And now this isn't the reason for this is important is because this area up here doesn't even have as much energy as this area down here. So we're going to go ahead and keep trending this, while we're off stream, and we'll be back in case anything life threatening or impactful does pop off sooner than we expect. But we're continuing to trend this just because, again, I'm kind of spewing at this moment, just telling you that this is a little bit different than model data showed us. So I have to dive into it a little bit there. But overall, again, I'm going to pull this map one more time. The wind risk is a 3 out of 5. The hail risk is a 2 out of 5. And the tornado risk is for a 2 out of 5 as well, mainly for Eastern Kentucky, that purple zone and the red zone as well. The reason we have the purple zone out there, just to wrap this up, is that is where we feel like that is the most volatile area, the most vulnerable area to perhaps support tornadic activity. So that's the overall rundown there. It'll begin now, obviously, around noon p.m. Oh my goodness, too long.
That works. You just created your own word.
That's what we do. That's what we do. At noon p.m., this line started. So about 20 minutes ago, and they'll continue to track on more southeast. And we left northeastern Kentucky out of any impact area and western Kentucky out of any impact area. For western Kentucky, these lines have already formed past you. They're moving to the east. No worries there. For northeastern Kentucky, you have too much rain going on for anything to really start to build any type of energy. So too much rain to wipe out everything out there. So that's why we're more focused on the south central and southeastern portions of Kentucky for tonight, for today's weather event. So that's the overall rundown. Once again, Greg, from me.
That's that covers just about everything. I know it may be a little bit busier this afternoon, so I know you need to dig back in to the data and get that figured out. But hey, folks, make sure on your social channels, Facebook and YouTube, make sure you have notifications turned on for Weather Now Kentucky. That way, when George goes live or we go live, you're going to know about it, and you'll be able to get the latest information. And again, if you're a business, here's a sales plug for you. If you're a business or organization that is looking to get exposure, you can join the folks like at the Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame and the Stephen Foster Story as partners of Weather Now Kentucky. When we say partners, not sponsors, because you're helping spread the weather information to our community. So you're not sponsoring it. You are a community partner that helps make this stuff happen. Better equipment, better technology. That's what those partners are able to do. All right, George, appreciate you giving the rundown there. And I'm sure that we will probably be back together at some point today.
I definitely think so.
All right. He's George Herbig. I am Greg Milby. This is Weather Now Kentucky, and it's also Kentucky's Heartland. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we won't talk to you later today, but if we need to, we'll be right